In the quaint town of Willowbrook, where the air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming flowers and the sound of laughter danced through the cobblestone streets, life moved at a gentle pace. The sun cast a warm golden hue over the picturesque homes, each with vibrant gardens that whispered stories of love and longing. It was here that Clara found herself, having returned to her childhood home after years spent away in the bustling city. The familiar sights and sounds enveloped her like a well-worn blanket, but as she stood in her father's garden, she couldn't shake the feeling of uncertainty that clung to her heart. Clara knelt among the vibrant petals, her fingers sinking into the cool, dark soil, a grounding sensation that momentarily soothed her restless mind. She inhaled deeply, allowing the fragrance of roses and lilies to fill her lungs, sparking memories of carefree afternoons spent in this very garden, where her dreams had once been as bright and colourful as the flowers surrounding her. Yet, as she tended to the plants, a bittersweet ache settled in her chest, reminding her of the dreams she had set aside in pursuit of a different life, one that seemed far away now. As she worked, her thoughts drifted to the future, shrouded in uncertainty. What did she truly want? The city had promised excitement and ambition, but it had also brought loneliness and the weight of expectations that felt suffocating. Here, in Willowbrook, she felt a flicker of her old self, the girl who dreamed of becoming a landscape artist, painting the world around her with the colors of her imagination. But with that flicker came the fear of settling for less, of being just the gardener's daughter in a town that had never forgotten her roots. Hello, beautiful romantic soul. Before we dive into today's love story, I'd like to invite you to subscribe and leave a like. It's quick, free, and helps keep this little corner of love alive. And tell me in the comments, where in the world are you listening from tonight? Meanwhile, across town, the heir to the prestigious Hawthorne estate, Benjamin, was wrestling with his own demons. After the recent loss of his father, a shadow of grief loomed over him, casting a pall on the grandeur of the life he was expected to lead. The estate, with its sprawling grounds and opulent interiors, felt more like a prison than a home. All around him, whispers of his future echoed, filled with societal expectations and the pressure to marry a woman of suitable status. He longed for freedom, for the chance to forge his own path, but the weight of his inheritance felt like an anchor, dragging him into the depths of despair. On a particularly warm afternoon, Benjamin decided to take a walk through the gardens of his estate, seeking solace in the beauty that surrounded him. The vibrant colors of the flowers were a stark contrast to the gloom that clouded his heart. As he strolled, he caught sight of a figure in the neighboring garden, her hands delicately working the earth. Clara. The sight of her brought a strange sense of comfort, though he had barely known her during their childhood days. She was the gardener's daughter, a girl with dreams of her own, and he felt an inexplicable connection to her, as if they were two lost souls seeking refuge in the same place. As fate would have it, their paths were destined to cross in a most unexpected manner. Clara, engrossed in her work, did not notice Benjamin as he neared the boundary of their gardens. With a gentle breeze rustling the leaves above, she reached for a handful of soil, only to lose her balance in an awkward moment. The soil slipped through her fingers, spilling onto the polished shoes of the unsuspecting heir. Clara gasped, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment as she looked up to meet his gaze. Oh no, I'm so sorry," she stammered, her heart racing as she hurriedly brushed the dirt from his shoes, her fingers trembling slightly. Benjamin, taken aback by the sudden encounter, couldn't help but chuckle at the situation. The absurdity of the moment broke the tension, and he found himself smiling at her. "It's quite all right," he replied, his voice warm and inviting. "I could use a little earth on my shoes. It's a sign of life, after all." Clara's embarrassment began to fade, replaced by a flutter of curiosity. She looked into his eyes and felt an undeniable spark, a connection that sent a thrill through her. Here stood Benjamin Hawthorne, the heir to a legacy that loomed over him, yet he seemed disarmingly human in this fleeting moment. They exchanged a few more words, their laughter mingling with the soft rustle of the garden, and Clara felt a strange sense of ease, as if they had known each other forever. Their exchanges became more frequent, each meeting in the garden carving out a space where they could shed their burdens, if only for a moment. Clara shared her dreams of becoming a landscape artist, her eyes lighting up as she spoke of colors and textures, while Benjamin confided in her about the weight of his responsibilities, the pressures to conform to a life that felt foreign to him. Each conversation deepened their connection, revealing layers of vulnerability that drew them closer. Yet as the days passed, the reality of their contrasting worlds loomed larger. Benjamin's family had expectations, traditions that dictated who he should love, and Clara, with her humble roots, felt the weight of society's judgment pressing down on her. The laughter and warmth they shared in the garden came tinged with an undercurrent of sadness, a reminder that their dreams might not align in a world that often saw love through the lens of status and privilege. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a soft glow over the garden, Clara and Benjamin shared a moment that felt charged with unspoken emotions. The air was thick with tension. Clara could feel her heart racing as she caught his gaze lingering on her. It was in this stillness that she felt the pull of something deeper, something that both excited and frightened her. But just as she opened her mouth to speak, the sound of voices drifted from the estate, drawing her attention away from the moment. Benjamin's expression shifted, and Clara felt a pang of disappointment. He glanced toward the sound, and she could see the conflict in his eyes, torn between the world he was expected to inhabit and the connection they were building. Clara's heart sank as she recalled the conversations she had overheard, whispers of family pressures and the future expected of him. The fear of being just a fleeting moment in his life washed over her, and she felt the urge to retreat. Days turned into weeks, and with each passing day, Clara felt the distance between them grow. Benjamin, though he reached out with tentative messages, was met with silence. Clara wrestled with her emotions, unsure if she was strong enough to face the truth of their situation. The garden, once a sanctuary, now felt heavy with unexpressed feelings and missed opportunities. One evening, as she tended to the flowers beneath a sky painted with stars, Clara overheard Benjamin's family discussing his future, the very future that did not include her. Heartbroken, she turned away, feeling as if the ground beneath her had shifted. She couldn't be the reason he was pulled apart from his family, the reason he would face disapproval. In that moment, she made the decision to distance herself, fearing that love could never bridge the gap between their worlds. Meanwhile, Benjamin stood in the shadows of his family's estate, grappling with the weight of his heart. Each day without Clara felt like a piece of him was missing, a void that echoed with the laughter they once shared. He had come to realize that the connection between them was not just a fleeting romance, but a lifeline, a chance to break free from the shackles of expectation. Yet, with Clara's sudden silence, he was left in a state of confusion and longing. As he wandered through the sprawling gardens, memories of Clara surrounded him like a lingering fragrance. He could picture her laughter, the way her eyes sparkled as she spoke of her dreams, and the way she made the world feel vibrant and alive. The realization hit him like a wave. He needed to find her, to understand what had driven her away. But with each step, doubt crept into his mind. Would she truly want him, the heir burdened by expectations? Or would she see him as just another symbol of the world that kept them apart? The tension between them reached a breaking point, and it was in the quiet of the night, under the starlit sky, that Benjamin finally found the courage to confront his feelings. He made his way to the garden, hoping to find Clara, to express the depth of his emotions that had remained unspoken for too long. As he approached, he could see her silhouette against the backdrop of flowers, and his heart soared with hope and trepidation. "Clara," he called softly, the sound of her name hanging in the air like a delicate promise. But the moment he spoke, he felt the weight of uncertainty settle over them both. What if she had already made her decision? What if the distance she had created was a wall too high to climb? As she turned to face him, he could see the glimmer of tears in her eyes, and it broke his heart. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken words and unresolved feelings. Clara's breath hitched as she looked at him, a mixture of longing and fear etched across her face. In that moment, they both realized the gravity of what they had been avoiding. Their hearts were intertwined, but the world around them threatened to tear them apart. "Benjamin," she whispered, her voice trembling. And he knew that this was the moment they had been waiting for. The moment to confront their fears and embrace the love that had blossomed against all odds. As Clara stood before Benjamin, the weight of their unspoken feelings hung in the air like the last golden rays of the setting sun. She could hardly breathe, her heart pounding in her chest as she wrestled with the emotions swirling within her. The garden, once a sanctuary, now felt charged with a tension that threatened to unravel everything they had built together. It was a place of beauty, yet it echoed their fears and uncertainties. "Benjamin," she whispered again, her voice barely above a breath, but it carried the weight of 1,000 thoughts. He stepped closer, the distance between them shrinking as if an invisible thread was pulling them together. "Clara," he replied, his voice steady, yet laced with urgency. "I need you to understand something." His eyes searched hers, trying to convey the depth of his feelings without the need for words. "You are more than just the gardener's daughter to me. You're everything." Tears brimmed in Clara's eyes, a mix of joy and sorrow. She had longed to hear those words, yet fear gripped her heart. "But what about your family, your obligations?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I don't want to be the reason you defy them." Benjamin shook his head, frustration mixing with determination. "I can't let their expectations dictate my happiness. You've shown me a world beyond the confines of my family's expectations, Clara. You've brought color to my life in ways I never imagined possible." He paused, taking a deep breath. "But I need to know if you feel the same, if you're willing to fight for this, fight for us." Clara's heart swelled with hope, yet doubt crept in like a shadow. "What if I'm not enough for you?" she whispered. "What if I can't fit into your world?" "Your heart is more than enough," he insisted, the intensity in his gaze unwavering. "I don't care about titles, about wealth. I care about you, your dreams, your laughter, the way you see the world. That's what matters to me." She took a step back, overwhelmed by the enormity of his words. "But what if I can't be the partner you deserve? What if I can't handle the pressures that come with being with someone like you?" The garden had grown quiet, the chirping of crickets filling the air, as if nature itself was holding its breath. Benjamin took another step forward, reaching out to gently cup her face in his hands. "Clara, you deserve to be loved fiercely and freely. I want to be that person for you. But I can't do it alone. We have to face this together." In that moment, Clara saw the vulnerability in his eyes, the flicker of fear mirrored in her own. They were both standing on the precipice of something beautiful, yet terrifying. She felt a surge of courage rise within her, igniting a fire that had long been dormant. I want to be with you, Benjamin. I want to fight for us." "I'm just scared." "Me too," he admitted, a soft smile breaking through the heaviness. "But maybe it's in that fear that we find our strength." Clara nodded, the warmth of his skin against her cheek grounding her in the moment. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow that enveloped them, and for the first time she felt a sense of clarity amidst the chaos. Then let's do this together. As if the universe conspired to affirm their decision, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves overhead, carrying with it the sweet scent of blooming flowers. It felt like a promise, a whisper of hope that they could indeed brave the storm. Benjamin's gaze softened, and he leaned in closer, his lips just inches from hers. "We can't let anyone dictate our happiness, Clara. You're the one I want by my side, no matter what." Clara's heart raced, and she closed the distance between them, their lips meeting in a tender, electric kiss that seemed to ignite the very air around them. It was a moment suspended in time, a promise sealed beneath the warm glow of the setting sun. As they pulled away, breathless and smiling, Clara felt a sense of relief wash over her. The doubts and fears that had plagued her began to dissolve, replaced by a newfound determination. They would face the world together, no matter the challenges that lay ahead. However, as they lingered in the garden, the shadows of reality crept in. The laughter that once echoed through the cobblestone streets now felt distant, replaced by the murmurs of disapproval that Clara knew would come from Benjamin's family. The societal expectations weighed heavily on them, and she couldn't shake the feeling that their love would be tested in ways they couldn't yet comprehend. "Clara," Benjamin said softly, sensing her sudden shift in mood. "What are you thinking?" "I'm just trying to be realistic," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "What happens when we leave this garden? What happens when reality sets in?" He sighed, his brow furrowing as he considered her words. "I know it won't be easy. My family will expect me to follow a certain path, to marry someone who fits their ideals. But I refuse to let their expectations dictate my life. I want to carve my own path, and I want you to be part of it." Clara felt her heart flutter at his declaration, yet the uncertainty still loomed like a storm cloud. "Do you really think they'll accept me? I'm just the gardener's daughter, Benjamin. Clara, you are so much more than that. You are an artist, a dreamer, someone who sees beauty in the world where others don't. I want to show them that love is not bound by social status or wealth. You deserve to be recognized for who you truly are." His words ignited a flicker of hope within her, but Clara still had her doubts. And what if they refuse to accept us? What if they try to come between us? Benjamin took her hands in his, grounding her in the moment. "Then we'll fight. Together. Love is worth fighting for, don't you think?" "Yes," Clara said, her voice filled with resolve. "It is." They stood together in the garden, the fading sunlight casting a warm glow around them as they began to strategize their next steps. They would need to confront the fears of their families and find a way to bridge the gap between their worlds. It wouldn't be easy, but for the first time, Clara felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As they made their plans, laughter erupted in the distance, drawing their attention back to the lively streets of the town. It was a reminder of the life that continued outside their secluded garden, a world filled with expectations and judgment. "Let's go out there," Benjamin suggested, a sparkle in his eye. "Let's show the world that we're not afraid." Clara hesitated, the thought of stepping into the judgmental gaze of others sending a shiver down her spine. But as she looked into Benjamin's eyes, she saw the unwavering support and love that radiated from him. "Okay," she agreed, her heart racing with both excitement and fear. "Let's do it." Hand in hand, they stepped out of the garden, ready to face the world together. The cobblestone streets were alive with color and laughter, a vibrant tapestry of life that beckoned them forward. Clara felt a mixture of anticipation and trepidation, but with Benjamin by her side, she felt emboldened. As they walked through the bustling town, Clara caught glimpses of the lives around her, families enjoying dinner, children playing, couples strolling hand in hand. It was a reminder that love thrived in all its forms, despite societal expectations. But as they approached a gathering of familiar faces, Clara's heart sank. She spotted Benjamin's mother, elegantly dressed and commanding attention, engaged in conversation with a group of their family friends. Clara felt the weight of her presence, like a storm cloud looming over them. "Benjamin," Clara whispered, her voice tinged with anxiety. "Your mother is here." "I know," he replied, his grip tightening on her hand. "But we can't let that deter us. You're with me, and that's what matters." Taking a deep breath, Clara steeled herself as they approached the group. Benjamin's mother turned at the sound of their footsteps, her expression shifting from surprise to a carefully masked disapproval. Clara's heart raced as she prepared to confront the judgment that awaited her. "Benjamin," his mother said, her voice cool and composed, "I didn't expect to see you here. I wanted to introduce you to someone," he replied, his tone resolute. "This is Clara. She's important to me." Clara felt the weight of those words settle like a comforting blanket around her. But as she met the gaze of Benjamin's mother, she could feel the disapproval radiating from her. "Clara," she said, her voice clipped, "it's nice to meet you, but I hope you understand the responsibilities that come with Benjamin's position." "I do," Clara replied, her voice steady despite the nerves coursing through her. "But I also believe in following one's heart." The tension in the air shifted, and Clara could sense the curiosity of the onlookers as they listened in. She could feel Benjamin's presence beside her, a steadying force that gave her courage. His mother's expression softened, if only slightly. "It's admirable to follow your heart, but you must also consider the implications of your choices. Benjamin has a future to uphold." "I understand," Clara said, meeting her gaze head-on. "But I believe that love should be the foundation of any future, not obligation or expectation." Benjamin's mother regarded her for a long moment, the silence stretching between them like a chasm. Clara could feel the eyes of the crowd on them, their breath held in anticipation. Benjamin's warmth radiated beside her, a reminder that she was not alone in this moment. Finally, his mother spoke, her voice softer now. "Love is important, Clara, but it isn't always enough to sustain a legacy." Clara felt her heart sink at the implication, but she refused to back down. Maybe love is the legacy we need to create. If we don't allow ourselves to love freely, what's the point of all the wealth and status? A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd, and Clara could see the surprise in Benjamin's eyes. She took a step closer to him, fueled by a fierce determination. "I'm not asking for approval. I'm asking for the chance to show you who I am and what I can bring to Benjamin's life." The air crackled with tension, and Clara could feel the weight of expectations pressing down on her. But in that moment, she felt a sense of clarity, a realization that their love was worth pursuing despite the obstacles ahead. Benjamin squeezed her hand, and she turned to him, finding reassurance in his gaze. "Whatever happens, I'm with you," he whispered. As Clara looked back at his mother, she felt a surge of hope. "I believe in Benjamin's potential, and I believe in us. We will find a way to navigate this together." The crowd was abuzz, and Clara could feel the whispers of intrigue surrounding them. But she held her head high, ready to stand firm in her love. The world around her faded, and all that mattered was the connection she shared with Benjamin. As they stood together, Clara realized that love was not just a fleeting moment. It was a choice they would have to make every day. And in that moment, she chose to fight for the love that had blossomed between them, no matter the challenges they would face. With newfound resolve, Clara felt a sense of peace wash over her. They were embarking on a journey, one that would require courage, vulnerability, and an unwavering belief in each other. And as they faced the crowd, hand in hand, Clara knew that no matter what lay ahead, their love would be the guiding light leading them forward. As Clara and Benjamin stood in the garden, hand in hand, The world around them felt both vibrant and distant, a soft blur of color and sound that faded into the background. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting golden rays that danced through the leaves, illuminating their faces and the delicate flowers surrounding them. It was a moment suspended in time, a breath of serenity amidst the chaos that life often brought. Yet, even in this peaceful haven, the shadows of their realities lingered. Clara felt a flutter of hope in her chest, mingled with the weight of uncertainty that had shadowed her since their first encounter. Could their love withstand the scrutiny of the world? The question loomed over her heart, threatening to dim the warmth that had ignited between them. She glanced at Benjamin, whose eyes held a mixture of determination and vulnerability. He seemed to sense her unspoken fears, his thumb brushing gently over her knuckles, grounding her in the present. "Clara," he began, his voice steady, yet tender. "I know our circumstances are complicated, and the expectations surrounding us can feel overwhelming, but I want you to know that you are not just the gardener's daughter to me. You are so much more." His gaze pierced through the facade of societal norms, delving deep into her soul.
"You inspire me in ways I never thought possible." Clara's heart raced at his words, a sweet melody that resonated within her. She had always admired Benjamin from afar, but now, standing before him, she felt seen, cherished. "I don't want to be a fleeting moment in your life, Benjamin," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if your family doesn't accept us?"
"What if I'm not enough?" The vulnerability in her tone hung in the air, a gentle plea for reassurance. Benjamin's expression softened, and he took a small step closer, closing the distance between them. "You are more than enough, Clara. You have a strength that I admire, a light that draws me in. I would rather face the world with you by my side than to live a life dictated by others." His words were like a balm to her fears, soothing the doubts that had plagued her since they first met. As they stood together, the garden enveloped them in its embrace, the soft rustle of leaves and the distant sound of laughter creating a symphony of tranquility. Clara felt the warmth of the sun on her skin, a gentle reminder that not all was lost. Here, in this moment, they were free from the expectations and judgments that loomed over them. It was a sanctuary, a place where love could flourish unencumbered. But as the sun began to set, casting long shadows on the ground, Clara felt a twinge of apprehension return. The world outside this garden was relentless, and she knew that the reality of their situation would soon intrude upon their blissful cocoon. "What will happen when the sun sets?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "What if the world comes crashing in?" Benjamin took a deep breath, his eyes never leaving hers. "Then we will face it together," he promised, a fierce determination in his gaze. "Love is not just about the sweet moments, it's about weathering the storms. I'm willing to fight for us, Clara. I hope you will too." In that moment, Clara felt a surge of courage. She had spent too long hiding in the shadows, afraid of what might come if she dared to step into the light. With Benjamin's hand in hers, she realized that love was not a weakness, but a strength, a force that could challenge the very foundations of their lives. She nodded, her heart swelling with resolve. "I will fight for us," she declared, her voice steady. "I want to be brave, for you and for me." As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange, Clara and Benjamin leaned in closer, their foreheads touching in an intimate gesture that spoke volumes. It was a promise of connection, a vow to support one another through the trials that lay ahead. And as if the universe conspired to bless their newfound commitment, a gentle breeze swirled around them, carrying the sweet fragrance of blooming flowers and the soft melody of nature. But just as they were about to share a kiss, a rustle from the nearby hedges pulled them from their reverie. Clara's heart sank as she turned to see a figure emerging from the shadows. Benjamin's mother, Lady Evelyn, a woman whose reputation for maintaining the family's legacy was well known. Her presence was commanding, and Clara felt a wave of anxiety wash over her. "Benjamin!" Lady Evelyn's voice was smooth but laced with authority. "There you are. I was looking for you." Her gaze shifted to Clara, scrutinizing her with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. And who might this be? Clara's breath caught in her throat as she braced herself for the inevitable confrontation. She felt small under Lady Evelyn's gaze, a stark reminder of the societal divide that threatened to separate her from the man she had grown to love. Benjamin, sensing her discomfort, stepped forward, his posture straightening with newfound confidence. "Mother, this is Clara," he introduced, his voice firm. "She is important to me." The weight of his words hung in the air, a declaration that Clara never expected to hear. Lady Evelyn's expression shifted slightly, but her composure remained intact, a mask of elegance concealing her true feelings. "Important," she echoed, her tone filled with skepticism. "Benjamin, darling, I understand the allure of young love, but you must remember your responsibilities. The family expects you to make a suitable match, one that aligns with our status." Clara felt her heart sink as she listened to Lady Evelyn's words. The reality of their situation crashed down upon her like a cold wave, a stark reminder of the obstacles they would face. She glanced at Benjamin, searching his eyes for reassurance, for a glimmer of hope amid the storm. But instead, she saw a flicker of conflict as he wrestled with his mother's expectations. "Mother, I am aware of my responsibilities," Benjamin replied, his voice steady but tinged with frustration. "But I refuse to let societal norms dictate my happiness. Clara is different. She sees me for who I truly am. She understands the weight I carry as the heir to this estate." Lady Evelyn's expression hardened, her eyes narrowing. "A romantic notion does not sustain a future, Benjamin. You must think about your position and what is best for our family's legacy." Clara felt the air grow heavy with tension as the conversation unfolded. She wanted to retreat, to vanish into the safety of the garden, but she stood her ground, feeling the need to be brave for Benjamin. "With all due respect, Lady Evelyn, love cannot be measured by social standing or expectations. It is a feeling that transcends boundaries and unites people in ways that status cannot." The words slipped from her lips before she could stop them, a surge of courage pushing her forward. She felt the weight of Lady Evelyn's gaze upon her, but she held her head high, determined not to back down. "Clara, this is not a discussion for you," Lady Evelyn replied coolly, her voice sharp. "You are a lovely girl, but you must understand your place." Clara's heart raced, and she felt a mix of anger and despair. She had spent her life feeling like an outsider, and now, faced with the woman who represented everything she felt she lacked, the emotional turmoil threatened to overwhelm her. Just when she thought she might crumble, she felt Benjamin's hand tighten around hers, an anchor in the storm.
"Enough, Mother," he interjected, his voice rising with conviction. "I will not let you dictate my feelings or the course of my life. Clara deserves my respect and my love, and I will not shy away from that." The tension in the air was palpable, and Clara marveled at Benjamin's courage. It was as if a dam had broken, unleashing a torrent of emotions that had been pent up for far too long.
She felt a surge of gratitude for him, for standing up not just for her, but for himself as well. As Lady Evelyn's gaze softened for just a moment, Clara dared to hope that perhaps there was room for understanding. But before she could entertain the thought further, Lady Evelyn's expression hardened once more. "Very well, Benjamin, but know this, your decisions come with consequences."
"I will not allow you to throw your future away on a whim," Lady Evelyn concluded, her voice cold. With that, she turned on her heel, leaving Clara and Benjamin standing in the garden, the weight of the world pressing down on them. Clara's heart sank as she watched Lady Evelyn walk away, a sense of dread creeping in. What would this mean for their relationship?
Would they be able to navigate the treacherous waters of societal expectations and familial obligations? Benjamin turned to Clara, his expression a mixture of determination and worry. "I'm so sorry you had to experience that," he said, softly, his voice barely above a whisper. "I never wanted you to feel like you were less than anyone else." Clara shook her head, feeling a rush of emotions. "It's not your fault, Benjamin. You didn't choose this," she replied, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. "But I can't help but wonder if love is enough to conquer all of this. Can we really withstand the pressure?" Benjamin stepped closer, his intensity filling the space between them. "We can," he insisted, his gaze unwavering. "I believe in us, Clara. I believe that love can transcend everything, even the expectations placed upon us. But we have to be willing to fight for it." In that moment, Clara felt a flicker of hope igniting within her. She had always been afraid of the consequences of love, but now, standing beside Benjamin, she realized that it was worth the risk. Their love was a flame that refused to be extinguished, a beacon of light guiding them through the darkness. "Then let's fight," she replied, her voice resolute. "Let's face whatever comes our way together." As they shared a determined gaze, Clara felt a sense of unity blossoming between them, a shared commitment to navigate the challenges ahead. The garden, once a sanctuary of solitude, now felt like a place of promise and resilience. The sun had disappeared beyond the horizon, leaving a tapestry of stars scattered across the night sky. Clara felt a sense of peace wash over her, a quiet assurance that love could conquer the fears that lingered in the shadows. Together they would face the world, hand in hand, ready to embrace whatever awaited them. And as they stood in the garden, a gentle breeze swirling around them, Clara knew that love was not just a fleeting moment, but a journey. A journey they were both willing to embark upon, no matter the obstacles in their path. The garden, a sanctuary of colors and scents, embraced Clara and Benjamin as they stood together, their hearts entwined in a delicate dance of emotions. The stars above twinkled like tiny diamonds scattered across a velvet canvas, casting a soft glow that illuminated their faces. The night air was cool, a gentle reminder of the world outside their intimate bubble. Clara could feel the warmth radiating from Benjamin, a comforting presence that made her heart flutter with hope. "Clara," he began, his voice steady, yet filled with a tenderness that made her pulse quicken. "I've never felt this way about anyone before. You've shown me a side of life I never knew existed, a beauty that transcends the walls built around us." His emerald eyes searched hers, filled with sincerity and an earnestness that made her breath hitch. Clara felt a rush of emotions, a mixture of joy and fear. "But what about your family, Benjamin?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "They have expectations, traditions. I'm just the gardener's daughter. I don't belong in your world." The weight of her words hung between them, a reminder of the harsh reality that loomed over their burgeoning connection. "Don't say that," he replied, stepping closer, his heart pounding in rhythm with hers. "You belong in my world more than anyone else. You see me for who I truly am, not just as the heir to a fortune." He took a breath, his fingers brushing against hers, sending a spark of electricity through the air. "I want to be with you, Clara. I don't care about the expectations. I care about you." Her heart swelled at his declaration, but doubt crept in, whispering fears that threatened to overshadow their moment. "But what if your family never accepts us?" Clara voiced her concern, the vulnerability in her tone palpable. "What if they try to come between us?" "I won't let them," he asserted, his voice filled with determination. "I'll fight for us, for what we have. Love is worth fighting for." He paused, leaning in closer, his breath warm against her cheek. You are worth fighting for." Tears glistened in Clara's eyes as she felt the depths of his sincerity wash over her. In that moment, she realized the power of their connection, how it had blossomed against all odds. She reached up, cupping his face with her hands, her heart aching with love. "I don't want to lose you," she admitted, her voice trembling with emotion. "You won't lose me," he promised, his gaze unwavering. "We'll find a way together. I believe in us." As the words hung in the air, Clara felt a flicker of hope igniting within her. A hope that perhaps love could indeed conquer all. Yet, just as the warmth of their moment enveloped them, the shadows of their reality crept back in. Clara's mind raced with the implications of their love, the societal barriers that threatened to tear them apart. She lowered her gaze, her heart heavy. "But what if it's not enough?" she whispered, the fear of the unknown looming over her like a storm cloud. "Clara," he said softly, lifting her chin with his fingers, forcing her to meet his gaze. "Love is never just about the circumstances. It's about the connection we share, the dreams we dare to chase. I want to build a life with you, no matter how difficult it may be." In that moment, as the stars twinkled above them, Clara felt the weight of her fears begin to lift. Benjamin's unwavering belief in their love sparked a flicker of courage within her. She took a deep breath, allowing herself to envision a future where love triumphed over societal expectations. But just as hope began to blossom, the distant sound of a car engine interrupted their serene moment, and Clara's heart sank. "It's my father," she said, glancing toward the road that led to their home. "I need to go. He'll be looking for me." The urgency in her voice betrayed her desire to stay, to linger in the warmth of Benjamin's presence. "Clara, wait," Benjamin said, reaching out to grasp her hand. "Promise me you'll think about what we talked about us." His eyes held a mixture of hope and desperation, and Clara nodded, her heart torn between the world she had known and the one she longed to embrace.
"I promise," she whispered, feeling the weight of her commitment. With one last lingering look, she turned to leave, her heart heavy yet buoyed by the hope that had taken root. As she walked away, the cool night air brushed against her skin, a bittersweet reminder of the love that had begun to bloom in her heart. Each step felt like a tug of war between her past and the possibilities of her future.
She glanced back one last time, catching a glimpse of Benjamin standing in the garden, a solitary figure framed by the soft glow of the moonlight. Days turned into weeks, and the garden became a clandestine meeting place for Clara and Benjamin, a sanctuary where they could be free from the pressures of the world outside. Each encounter deepened their bond as they shared their dreams, fears, and the unspoken understanding that their love was something rare and precious. But in the shadows, the whispers of disapproval loomed large. Benjamin's family was growing increasingly aware of his connection with Clara, and their expectations weighed heavily on him. He felt the pressure of duty against the pull of his heart, a tension that left him restless and conflicted. One afternoon, as Clara tended to the blossoms in the garden, she noticed the anxious look on Benjamin's face as he arrived, his footsteps heavy with unspoken words. "What's wrong?" she asked, concern etching her features. "I had a meeting with my family," he replied, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "They're pushing for a marriage proposal to someone else, someone they deem suitable." Clara's heart sank, a wave of panic washing over her. "But you don't want that," she said, her voice shaking with emotion. "I don't," he admitted, his gaze piercing into hers. "But the pressure is overwhelming. They think I should be with someone of my social standing, someone who fits their expectations." Tears threatened to spill from Clara's eyes as the weight of his words settled heavily in the air. "What will you do?" she asked, her throat tightening with fear. "I don't know," he confessed, anguish etched across his features. "But I can't bear the thought of losing you, Clara." You mean everything to me." The intensity of their emotions hung thick in the air, and Clara felt the gravity of their situation pressing down on her. "We have to find a way," she whispered, her heart racing. "We can't let them dictate our lives." He stepped closer, the warmth of his body igniting a spark of determination within her. "You're right, we can't," he said, his voice steadying. "But I need to know that you're with me in this fight, that you're willing to stand against the odds." "Always," Clara affirmed, her voice resolute. "I believe in us, Benjamin. We can create our own path." In that moment, as they stood in the garden surrounded by the vibrant blooms, Clara felt a surge of courage. Love had become their foundation, a force that could withstand the trials ahead. With newfound resolve, they vowed to face the challenges together, to hold on to the love that had blossomed against all odds. As they shared a lingering kiss, the world around them faded away, leaving only the promise of a future filled with hope, resilience, and a love that would not be silenced. In the days that followed, Clara and Benjamin navigated the complexities of their lives with a sense of unity. They devised a plan to confront his family together, armed with the strength of their love and the belief that they could carve out a place for themselves in a world that seemed determined to keep them apart. As the day of reckoning approached, Clara felt a mixture of dread and anticipation. She was nervous, yet determined, ready to fight for the love she cherished. The garden, once a place of solace, now felt like the battleground for their hearts. On the day they chose to confront his family, they stood side by side, hands intertwined, as they prepared to step into the grand estate that had loomed over Benjamin's life like a shadow. The ornate doors opened, revealing a lavish hall filled with the echoes of laughter and conversations, but Clara felt a chill creep down her spine as the reality of their social divide set in. "Just remember, we're in this together," Benjamin whispered, squeezing her hand as they walked into the sea of unfamiliar faces. Clara took a deep breath, summoning her courage as they approached his family. "Benjamin," his mother greeted him, her voice dripping with expectation. "I'm glad you're here. We need to discuss your future." Clara felt a knot tighten in her stomach, but Benjamin stood tall, his resolve unwavering. "Actually, Mother, I'd like to introduce you to someone important to me." He turned to Clara, his eyes filled with determination. "This is Clara," he said, his voice strong. "And I love her."
"I want to be with her, regardless of what anyone expects." The room fell silent, shock rippling through the crowd. Clara's heart raced as she felt the weight of their judgment, but she stood firm beside Benjamin, ready to face whatever came next. "Benjamin, you can't be serious," his mother retorted, her tone incredulous.
"She's just the gardener's daughter." Clara felt the sting of the words, but she refused to back down. "I may be the gardener's daughter, but I am not defined by my social standing," she spoke, her voice steady. "I love Benjamin, and that's what matters most." As she spoke, she could see the flicker of surprise in Benjamin's eyes, pride shimmering beneath the surface. And in that moment, Clara realized that love was not about status or expectations. It was about the connection they shared, the dreams they dared to chase together. "You don't understand, Clara," his mother continued, her voice rising with indignation. "This is about family legacy and reputation." "Perhaps it's time to redefine what legacy means," Benjamin interjected, his voice unwavering. "I refuse to sacrifice my happiness for the sake of tradition. Clara makes me whole in a way I never knew I needed." The tension in the room crackled like electricity, and Clara held her breath, waiting for the fallout. But to her surprise, a murmur of agreement began to ripple through the crowd as a few family members began to nod, recognizing the sincerity in Benjamin's voice. "You deserve to be happy, Benjamin," one of his aunts spoke up, her voice gentle yet firm. "Perhaps it's time for the family to embrace change." The shift in the atmosphere was palpable as Clara and Benjamin exchanged glances, hope igniting in their chests. They could feel the tide turning, the weight of expectation loosening its grip. In that moment, Clara realized that love could indeed transcend boundaries, that they could forge their own path hand in hand. And as Benjamin's family began to rally around them, Clara felt the warmth of acceptance wash over her, a promise that they could create a life built on love rather than obligation. As the evening unfolded, Clara and Benjamin found themselves surrounded by support, laughter mingling with the thrill of possibility. They shared stories, dreams, and laughter, feeling the walls that once separated them begin to crumble. And as the stars twinkled above them, illuminating the garden that had witnessed the beginning of their love story, Clara knew they had taken the first step toward a future filled with hope, resilience, and the promise of a love that would endure, no matter the challenges ahead. In each other's arms they found solace and strength, ready to embrace whatever awaited them in the journey of love, forever united in their shared dreams and desires. The garden, once a simple sanctuary, had blossomed into a symbol of their love, a love that had defied the odds and emerged victorious, blooming brightly under the stars.